Hello, in this video we're going to look at all of the multi-touch gestures that you can perform using an Apple mouse, which looks like this. So Apple mouse, as well as having right click and left click and scrolling, you can do some other gestures on here to help navigate your Mac and be able to be super productive. Now, to get a list of all of the different multi-touch gestures you can do, you can simply Google the word Apple mouse gestures, and this is the first web page that comes up, and it will list the different actions that you can perform on the mouse. Now, before we go through all of these, you do need to turn some of these on in the settings as well. So before we get started, you might want to check on your settings app and then select mouse from the right hand side, and then it has some different options that you can turn on and off. So one of them that I would want to turn on is secondary click, and that's the same as right click. So I'm going to set that as right click. So secondary click is right click. I'm also going to turn on Smart Zoom, and I'll show you what Smart Zoom is later in the video. And then if we go to more gestures, I've also got swipe between 4 apps and mission control as well. That's all turned on. Now, incidentally, as I hover over these options, there is a little animation above up here which show you how they work. So this tells us that mission control is performed with 2 taps on the mouse. This one is 2 taps swiping. I'll go to point and click. Again, as I go through these ones, it demonstrates as well. So secondary click is tapping on the right side, and Smart Zoom is a double tap in the center of the mouse. I'm going to demonstrate them all anyway, but I just wanted you to see that you can take a look at those example animations should you need to. Okay, so I'm going to close the settings, and let's go through all of these one at a time. Okay, so all the options on the mouse. So the first one is simply clicking on the right side of the mouse should now do a right click. Oh, I accidentally did something different there. I did a tap. I'll come to a tap in a minute. You actually need to feel it click to do a right click. And a right click brings up a what we call a context menu with some different options on it. So on the web here, I can have a right click to go back and to reload. Let's try another right click, this time on the desktop background. Right click. I've got options to change the wallpaper or edit the widgets. So a right click, very straightforward. The next one is scroll. Of course, scrolling is also very straightforward. We just use one finger and we lightly move our finger and flick it around the top of the mouse. And that scrolls up and down through web pages, and also left and right. If you've got something that like a, let me see what I've got down here. I've got like a book here, for example. If I zoom in on this book, then not only can I move and scroll up and down, but I can also scroll left and right as well to move across. So scrolling works left and right as well as up and down. Okay, the next one is Smart Zoom. Smart Zoom is pretty clever. This is a double tap. It's not a click, so you don't want to press too far on the mouse that you click. You're just doing a very light tap tap on top of the mouse. And what it will do is it will zoom in on wherever the mouse pointer is on web pages and PDFs. Some apps also support it, like photos as well, but it's mainly used for web pages and PDFs. So if I like hover over this part of the web page and then tap tap, oh, is it going to do it? It doesn't want to do it. Maybe that particular web page doesn't support it. Let me try once more. Ah, it did work. Right, I'll tell you why it didn't work. Because it only works for the app that is currently active. Now, the active app is the one that has the red, amber and green icons at the top. If I click on a different app or a different background, you see that that's now greyed out. Those buttons up there are now greyed out. That's no longer the active app. So the mouse isn't responsive to it. It doesn't do anything. But if I click on the app, it becomes the active app. The red, amber and green light are on to indicate this is the main app I'm using, and now the gestures work. So there we go. We learned about active apps as part of this video as well. So that's a smart zoom. Like I said, it also works on PDFs as well. So if I'm looking at a PDF here, I can do a double tap and it will zoom out. Or if I go to another page, hover over this picture, double tap, we'll zoom in. Although not very far in this one, but it does zoom in a little bit. So there we go. That is called the smart zoom. Right, now we get a little bit more impressive. So the next one is mission control. I don't call it mission control. It's the dumbest name ever, and it is just a marketing word. It used to be called expose, which is much better, and it just exposes all your active windows. Now, we talked about this before, that expose was 3 fingers towards a screen on a trackpad. On a mouse, it's a bit different, and this is best to be seen if I've got lots of apps open. So I'm just going to open up a couple more apps. Let's open up my calendar, my contacts, and also my notes. So I've got 4 or 5 apps open now. If I want to expose all the apps, it's a 2-finger double tap. So like the smart zoom, but with 2 fingers. So don't press enough that it clicks. It's a very light tap tap with 2 fingers. And it will expose all of the apps and windows that you have on the screen. And that will do that for multiple screens. So if you've got another screen next to your main screen, it will also expose that app as well on those screens too. So that is mission control. And you can double tap to revert back. So double tap to expose, double tap to go back to where you were. The last one is swiping between pages. So this, oh no, it isn't, there's 2 more actually, but we'll do swiping between pages. Swipe left and right with 1 finger to show the previous or next page. Again, this is best in apps like books or PDFs. You just use 1 finger and you slide left and right, and it's a flick motion, and it'll flick between the pages. I'll be honest, we don't often use that one, so don't worry if you don't remember that one, because it's not often used, but a 1 finger flick can be used to flick between multiple pages of documents. Right, but one that is interesting is swiping between full page apps, full screen apps. This is useful if you use this green button for full screen. Because if I make this app full screen, what we have here is an app that's taken up the entire screen, but next to my screen is actually my desktop. It's still there. Now we can get to that with mission control. So you could use 2-finger tap, and then you could go back to your desktop that way. And then 2-finger tap, and then go back to my full screen app up here, back to Safari. Okay, so that works. But you can also simply use 2 fingers. Do you see, as I start swiping with 2 fingers on the mouse, I can reveal my desktop, which was just to the side of it. And this can be particularly useful if you're the kind of person that likes having multiple screens full screen, because then you can switch between all 3 or 4 apps at once. So I've got my full screen web browser, I've got my full screen calendar, and I've got my full screen, well, not my full screen, my desktop is to the side of it. If I want to see everything, 2-finger double tap, and I can go back to expose, and I can see all my full screen apps up here, and I can just drag them back into the desktop if I don't want them to be full screen anymore. Incidentally, you can also view, you can also drag these apps onto other desktops as well if you've got other screens open, but I can only show you 1 screen at a time on here. So there we go. There's all the ways to use the mouse. We've got right click, we've got scrolling, we've got smart zoom if you've turned it on, we've got mission control, or you can call it expose if you want to be like me, and we can swipe between full screen apps as well if we've got that turned on. The only other one is switching between pages, but that isn't used very often. And that's the multi-gestures on the Apple mouse.